Here we are. Surprise, surprise. Phil's late. Don't know where he is. But I'm sure he'll be here momentarily. This is episode 170 of Snakes and Stogies, which is part of the Herpetoculture Network, brought to you by BlackBoxCages.com, Facebook, Instagram. They're on there. Go give them a follow. Stay in the loop about any new releases that are coming soon. Hint, hint. Some new stuff coming. And then if you end up deciding to get a rack or a cage or both from BlackBox, then put in the code THN at checkout. Save yourself just a tiny bit of money, a little bit off the top. Every little bit helps. Awesome products. We here at the network obviously can't say enough good things about them. Jake and I just went up there Saturday and picked up a bunch of stuff. I'm still in the process of getting the room rearranged. I ended up getting an XA3, the bio option. So it is a 3 by 18 by 18, if I'm not mistaken. And it's going to be the female Persimmon's new setup. And then next year, the male will go in there and they'll be cohabbed because I'm planning to pair them next year. So that'll look really good. I got some pretty cool stuff planned out for it. I'm actually going to end up doing more with it in terms of the design and stuff than sort of I had initially planned. So now I'm going to be adding some plants other than pothos in there that I hope will work out, and we'll see what happens. But look at that, we match. Oh, yeah. So blackboxcages.com, check them out. Got my XR16 rack set up. Did a bunch of shifting around of animals on Sunday. The usual dance when new cages come in. It's exhausting and it drives me crazy, but it must be done. So got a lot of corns moved over and moved around, and now I have a 6-quart shoebox rack that I now have to get rid of. And now I got to figure out where this cage is going to go. Playing the old room Tetris.
Ugh.
The price we pay for getting slick new black box cages.
I know, right? Oh man, I know. And I have so many ideas drawn out for black box cages, and getting the background and the foam and doing it right. I just need more. I just need more.
Yeah, so I have that. When we went to Black Box, me and Jake went up there before you hopped on. I was saying me and Jake drove up there for Saturday and picked up. I got a spare piece of PVC to use for the bamboo, runs, I guess is what you'd call it. But my original plan was to screw them in from the bottom into the bamboo. But the problem is unless you have a joint, you know how those bamboo has the joints, the knuckles.
Yeah.
Unless you have one of those right there at the bottom, you're not screwing in anything. It's hollow. So what I think I'm going to end up doing, I got a can of spray foam, and I'm just going to spray foam them, and then whittle it down to look right. And it's going to be more involved than I initially sort of planned it to be. And I was saying I got some lemongrass. Walmart had some lemongrass for $3 for a decent sized pot of it. So I'm going to put that in there and see how well that does.
Nice.
I think it'll look good. I think if it works
you gotta
well.
Cut it.
Cut what?
The grass. So from my personal experience, now there is terrarium grass that they sell now that I haven't tried yet. And if anyone's listening has tried it, let me know how it goes. But all the grasses that I've tried to grow in Bavaria, you gotta cut it, because if you don't, it's going to grow to its max length of its ability in that enclosure, and then it's just going to die and fall over. While if you cut it, much like an herbivore would be, or excuse me, as Nipper would say, a herbivore would be eating it and trimming it down, it'll just keep growing and keep living. So
I have a picture of it because Billy Hunt was the herb, which I guess there is an herb that is called lemongrass. but I don't think this is it because this is big-ish. It's not small. I got a picture I'm trying to pull up right now.
And Jason Keller wants to know when I'm putting squams in the black boxes. And it's going to be, most likely, it's going to be clobberi and subox, to be honest. So at least that's where my mind's going.
Yeah, and while we were up there, we talked to Jen and Clint a pretty good bit about some ideas and some stuff we've heard that people are wanting. That people have asked us about. FB90s being a big one. That's the massive, the big tubs. Vision has an equivalent. I want to say it's something like 160 quarts or something ridiculous. It's huge.
Wow.
But it's designed more for I think boas. They call it the boa tub, I think is what the Vision version is of that. And even that, the Vision version is a little bit bigger than the Freedom Breeder from the FB90. So if you guys have certain sizes that you're wanting, let us know, because we pass that information along to Jen and Clint. We're helping to take a temperature of the what's going on outside a pulse. There you go. We got our finger on it. So look at that. I think that was a Smitty question. It wasn't a Smitty question.
I kind of feel dumb because I think it was.
I'm not putting squams in them. FB90s. So if there is enough, basically, BlackBox is more than willing to make stuff that that is in demand. There just has to be a demand for it. Obviously, if there's two people that want some really off the wall odd tub, they're not going to take the time and resources to put that together. But
right.
If there is a common size, be it arboreal, Freedom Breeder stuff, Vision stuff, and you want to see it, then let us know. Someone, me, Phil, Jake, Chris, Bill Bradley, the gang, and we will make sure we pass that along. So
yeah,
we had a good sort of brainstorming while we were there about that stuff, and sort of I gave my 2 cents on some of the things that they're looking to add or change or anything like that. So we shall see.
Nice. I just got the pictures you sent me. What I was going to say is, on the topic of you guys brainstorming, I was actually thinking, and hopefully I'm not alone in this, but I've always been envious of the fish people having the ability to utilize the corner of a room. Whether you have a bow front that's a corner, or you have an actual square, or even an octagonal tank, we really don't have that option for front loading, everything's through the top. Well, you can't stack it.
Well, there's the corner aquariums that PetSmart sells now.
Yeah, but was it like a corner exo, basically?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, what I was thinking was
but I do agree there.
Yeah, you can't stack it if it's top loading, and even there, I got to look more into those. But I was thinking, could you have? I mean, it would be unsightly in theory, because there would be a support beam and or track on the corner point of the cube facing you. But could you have it a slider where it slid towards you at an angle, so it would clear the enclosures on the left and right of the bookshelf or wherever you put it in your home? But you can only open one pane at a time, obviously. But you'd slide the left open or slide the right open and have your corner unit. I don't know. It could be unsightly because of the beam in the middle, but who knows? Could be interesting.
Yeah.
Let me try and pull those pictures up for you. Or are you going to?
Oh, I got them. I'm going to.
Oh, okay, cool.
But real quick, so BlackBox, as we mentioned, Puget Sound pythons, check them out. Check them out on Morph Market. If you're in the Pacific Northwest and you've gone to any of those shows, there's a expo up there that's really taken off. They're vending that usually, so I'm sure you've seen them there if you've gone. Give them a follow also on Facebook and Instagram. Check them out. Fulvius Apparel, check it out. Fulviusapparel.com. Fluffy's Apparel on Facebook and Instagram. Buy yourself a shirt, buy yourself a hat. You can look like me and Phil, decked out, head to toe. And yeah, help your guy out. Cold Blooded Caffeine, check them out as well. We gotta get on the horn with Trey and get our concoction ironed out.
For sure.
I was talking to him the other day about it. We got to make it happen. So, other than that, anyways, let me see. Let me pull this up. So this is the lemongrass that Walmart had for cheap.
Nice.
Says it needs a lot of light. So, again, I don't think that's the herb. I think that's like the legit grass.
That's not what I was thinking. I was thinking what looks more like wheatgrass. So that's pretty cool. That'll look really good in there with the bamboo.
I think it will too. We'll see.
And Lance Kirkman, forgive me for belated congratulations.
So give that a shot. I think it'll do okay.
Yeah. Now, on the bamboo with the hollow bottom, are you going to, I know you said you were going to do some dremeling and whatever, but are you still going to do the idea of putting screws through a pane of wood as a base and then mounting it that way? Or are you thinking about, like, are you going to fill it with spray foam and then you could screw into the spray foam? Or are you just going to spray foam?
No, I'm just going to spray foam it in because like the thickness of the bamboo walls itself aren't very thick.
Okay.
So there's really nothing to get in there unless I'm, using tiny screws and I'm actually really accurate. And that's a thicker piece of PVC. So after some back and forth with myself, looking at it, I think the spray foaming is just going to be the better route to go. And you're not
pain, but you're not cutting them in half, are you?
No.
Yeah, because I feel like it'll have so much more depth if you keep it completely cylindrical.
Yeah, it is. I've got, is that 1, 2, 3? Got like 9 or 10 pieces.
Nice.
To put together. But my concern now is thinking about if I spray foam it, I'll really have to do like spray foam like 3 or 4 of them and then carve that away and then do another 3 or 4 of them and carve that away, because if I do them all, it'll be a real pain to get any sort of blade in there to trim that out in between the pieces and stuff, and it still look decent, because I don't want there to be a lot of spray foam. I don't want it to be like a mound of spray foam that I then have to cover with like silicone or something else before I put substrate on it. I want to I want there to be enough just to hold it upright and to keep it upright, and then cut it out from.
What if you did this? Well, are you using the Black Pond foam?
It's the Great Stuff equivalent. No.
But is it a black box or is it a white black box?
It's a white.
See, that's tough, man. Because I was going to say, if it was black, you get the Black Pond foam, and you could basically measure the height exactly on the inside, and then cut your bamboo that is going to go all the way to the top of the enclosure, cut it to exact size, and then spray a bunch of foam on the bottom, and then spray a line across the seam of the top just to hold the tip of it in, you know what I mean? And then just lay them all in there. I mean, you may have to get more bamboo, I don't know, but just press them all in, then spray foam over top of the bases and throw a bunch of, cocoa husk and cocoa fiber on that to kind of blur the bottom. And I think that would look great.
Yeah, I just like the point of the plate would be to, if I ever had to upgrade or go bigger,
you could just take it out.
You could
just take it out. Yeah, no, I get it. That makes sense.
Thank you, Stephen. Lisa said lemongrass is a woody bamboo-like stuff.
Oh, okay.
And Tom Kasup, this probably is the herb. So who knows? I could probably eat some and tell you if it's lemony or not. I'm sure it'll taste like grass.
Nice.
But
nice.
Well, we'll see. If that's the case, then it'll fit in great. I also found like a clay pot, which I need to go back to Walmart and buy like 2 more because they were only like $3. But they had some nice like cross hatch looking like terracotta concrete stuff type pots. So I want to get a couple of those and like break them and kind of. I really wanted to make it look like a. I want you to feel like you're in Vietnam when you're looking at that cage.
Yeah, man.
Looking at those blue-eyed beasts.
Yeah, for
the
sure.
Male ready to tear your freaking face off.
I still think you should definitely do a realistic vinyl background on the inside. That way you can have like the bamboo will still cover most of the picture, but you could still have like the window into the jungle. You know what I mean? Maybe like a game trail or something, or like the edge of a bamboo forest looking out over like the mountainous terrain, or like those rice paddies that the rice farmers that they cut into the side of the hill. That would be awesome.
Well, my other idea was to take some of these crepe myrtle perches that I've made and have those along the back sort of randomly, because they'll use the hell out of those. And the more I think about it, the more I'm like, if I'm adding all this stuff, they're going to be a nightmare to get out if I have to. Like the snakes.
Yeah.
They're going to figure out all the nooks and crannies. And they're going to make it real hard. But
that's what they do, man.
What are you lighting up there?
So this is an LH that I got a while ago, and I have no idea what it is. It's a black band with gold trim, and it's like a pseudo Maduro. I don't know. It has no fragrance at all, which I thought was kind of weird. But it's like time to smoke it, and I honestly have no idea what it is. But
going for it. Yeah, I'm not familiar. I wonder if that was like someone got that for like a wedding or like a event kind of thing.
Yeah, maybe.
Because the fact that it doesn't have any branding on it or anything like that is odd. That makes me wonder if it was like a custom. Someone just got some bands made on cheap cigars which people do. That is a thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I was even looking for like some fine print in like the edge of the filigree, and there's just nothing. It just says LH. So.
Let me know how that pans out.
And yourself? I see that little orange band.
That's right. It can only be one thing. Neanderthal.
Only one.
This is the best cigar of all time. No one can convince me otherwise. Personally, I think this is like it. The size is just good. One day I'm gonna ball out and get a box of them for the low price of like $500.
Is that really how much a box is? Oh, that's because they put like 40 in there, right?
Yeah, it's a big box.
Yeah, that's the problem. They don't do 20s or 10s.
I don't know. How's the hat fit?
The hat fits like a glove.
I always get nervous with hats because everyone's got their preference. Everyone's fits differently. Like those STC 39s, those Yupongs, they fit me kind of. If I'm moving around a lot and I'm working on them, it gets a little irritating because I feel like they don't sit very deep. Like they sit kind of shallow.
I have a lot.
So I feel like they don't.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
Well, I'll say this. So the brim is fantastic. The front of the hat feels great. The Alterna logo came out fantastic. I am not a snapback guy at all, but this feels great. I don't have anything cutting into me. I got 3 buttons, which is rare for me with a snapback. So 3 buttons, that's good enough for me. I'm also not a huge fan of trucker hats. However, this is not your stereotypical trucker hat, like super starchy, like cage on your head. It folds nice, and the back part that actually is the trucker part that actually fits my head perfect. The only thing, and the front strap fits perfect. The only thing that I thought was interesting is it's very tall. You know what I mean? Like there's I don't know if I don't want to dent it, but here, look, you can see
it's.
You know what I mean?
I don't know how the manufacturers do it, because it's like how do you make a hat that works as universally as possible, because
you can't, man.
Everyone's head's different. Some people swear by the Richardson 112s. Some people swear by the flex fits and the 2 different sizes, and it's tough. So I always get nervous when people when I'm doing, and I do have the Barron's design for those still that I never really fully released. And I have the Okati one that I never fully released either. And that's just because I need to like basically settle on like two closure options, be it flex fit or snapback, or maybe just snapback, and then like one or two colors and just call it a day, because there's just entirely too many options. And it's one of those things where it's like, I'm going to go with what I think works best for everybody. Because even the flex fits, you know, there's a small, medium, and there's a large, extra large. There's two sizes, and those can be really tough. The small mediums are really small mediums, and then the large, extra larges seem to fit pretty good to me. So I have a huge head. So
and I feel like even though it is really spacious on top, it almost makes it better than if it was, because again, I'm not a big trucker hat fan, but it makes it better for South Florida humidity, because I have like air up there. Like I don't feel like the top of my head is suffocating. You know what I mean? And combine that with the nice mesh in the back, and I got some breathability. You know, I like it.
Yeah. And my work hat that I have, that's like branded for New South. It's a full closed. It's closed. It doesn't have the mesh. And I'll tell you now, like even working inside, it gets freaking warm in that thing. So I've come to prefer the mesh backs, you know, a lot more. So
now I will say this: you've made an Alterna one. You're gonna make the bear dye. You better make a damn sub-aqu one, because then we need to have the Holy Trinity.
The Holy Trinity,
right?
Yeah.
And I need the Holy Trinity. You know, even though I don't keep Alterna, but I gotta have the Holy Trinity. I tell you what, though, the hat has made me highly consider it.
What do you mean?
Keeping Alterna.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
like the sub-aqu one would be fairly easy. The Baird's one, I don't know how exactly I'd go about doing that one, but
you don't have like you could do I've seen it where they take like blue and silver thread and blend it to give it like a metallic coloration. Like the thread itself is woven strands of like blue and silver, or like blue and or purple and silver. Or they even have like metallic thread too. You could totally do a Loma Alta.
No, for sure. That's not the issue. It's just like pattern wise, to where it's like the Alterna, where someone can look at that and know if they're into snakes and stuff, be like, oh, I know what that is. Like it's instantly recognizable. You know, with the sub-aqu, that's fairly easy because they have the H and the pattern and stuff. And bear dye, it might be a little more tricky, but I don't know.
I have faith that you can do it.
I haven't had a whole lot of time to work on any of that stuff as of late.
Sorry, man. Take it slow.
It's been.
You got a lot of great designs out real quick, you know.
Not enough.
You can't have too many, man. You can't have too many. You gotta keep people in suspense. You gotta keep them wanting the new, fresh stuff, and then eventually you gotta phase stuff out, and then it's limited edition.
Oh, there's already a few that I'm gonna probably go ahead and axe, like the Europlatus one.
Okay.
There's a couple of them that just they haven't really sold hardly at all. So
yeah.
The nice thing is, since I'm pretty much making them to order, is that I'm not sitting on a bunch of inventory that so I can just remove them and then maybe bring them back later. Who knows?
Yeah, man. And the colors, first of all, the shirts, stupid comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like they just fit like a glove. The sizes you picked were perfect. I trusted your judgment, man. And then the colors on the Amazon, like, dude, like, again, I don't keep Amazons, but that shirt is killer, man. Like I
think yours, radical. I printed yours, so I put it on the platen differently than I normally do, so that it prints wider.
Okay. Yeah, it fills up like my whole chest. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course,
I mounted it different before I printed it.
The clobber eyes, hands down my favorite for obvious reasons. So,
did you try like the 2X and the 3X, and have you washed them all?
No,
have you washed them all yet?
No, I put each one on and like did one of these in the mirror to kind of like look at it, and then I literally just hung them up in my closet, and I just put this one on for the show. So
gotcha.
I don't want to like wear them to work because then I get like oil and crap on them, and I don't want to ruin them. So I'll save them for the Glades.
Yeah, that's another one, man. It's tough, especially sizing wise, there's no real standard. And like every company and even lines within the company,
Yeah.
Those are going to be different. They're going to fit different. Lady sizes, like I have people at work that specifically want lady sizes in their orders, and I'm like, I warn them very heavily, like there's a very good chance that you think you're wearing one size and it ain't going to be that. Like the women's sizes run so small no matter who it is. I'm dealing with that right now with a customer who got a bunch of lady sizes, and I warned them ahead of time, like, do not trust the size you think you are, go up.
Yeah.
And they didn't listen, and now I got a bunch of shirts coming back to me saying they don't fit, and I mean, I'm helping them out and replacing some of them, but I'm like, I'm going to have to start making people sign something, basically. If they're getting lady shirts, be like, if this doesn't fit, which, I mean, already if it doesn't fit you, like, I can't know your size.
Yeah.
I can't know what fits you,
Yeah, you just do a disclaimer at the bottom that says, like, before they can add it to their cart on the women's shirts, just put, women's shirts are very small. FYI, you check this box acknowledging that you're buying this size shirt and it may be too tiny. I mean, not
phobias stuff, or like at work, like
really
placing orders.
Okay. I thought you were talking about phobias.
No, so like stuff like that, like Randall Peggy's, he gets, he wears a tall, so when he orders something, he's like, can you make sure it's just a tall? And that's fine. So if there's anything that anybody wants, and I put this on the website on all the products, basically saying, like, if there's a certain color shirt you'd prefer over these, if there's a certain size or certain cut, U sizes, whatever, like, just let me know. That doesn't really affect the price, at all. Your larger sizes, your 2XLs and up, are going to be a little more, but as far as if someone wants a ladies shirt or youth shirts or something, like, that's fine. Just let me know. And the printing process is the same. It's just different.
Yeah, because Kasicki said it perfect. Buyer's responsibility.
And it is, but people fail to.
Yep.
Remember that.
What do you mean there's no ice? I gotta drink this coffee hot?
No, like I said, someone wants lady shirts. I'm like, it just makes me nervous, because I'm like, this is gonna come back to me.
Yeah. What are you gonna do?
Me and my coworker had a conversation about the other day. Like, I'm literally gonna have to start having people sign something that says, if this doesn't fit, it's 100% on me, and that we're not gonna do anything about it.
Yeah.
Because we warned you. It is what it is. It's not Walmart. You can't just bring it back.
Yeah.
It's custom shirts. There's absolutely nothing I can do with it except use it as scrap.
Well, on a positive note, the patterns are awesome. The logos came out crisp and great, and they feel comfortable. So rock and roll.
Yeah, I like those Gildans a lot. The soft styles.
Yeah, man, and it's super lightweight.
Yeah.
It's not a standard Gildan, right? These are.
It's not the baseline. No, that's 100% cotton.
Oh, no shit! It's like super thin and airy. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not. So there's like your ultra cottons, and then your heavy cottons, which are like the baseline Gildans, like absolute bottom, lowest cost option. And then there's those, and those are kind of a step up from that. But even then, cost wise, they're not terribly far off from that stuff. But they are way more comfortable, and they come in a lot of colors, and I love them. Shirts matter. What's new down yonder? Everything's settling in.
Yeah. I fed everything. What's today? Today's Monday, so I fed everything on. Oh geez, what's today's? I fed everything this weekend. Friday night. Yeah, Friday night. And dude, everything ate. Everything was like, I'll take that. Thank you very much. I even have a wild caught cottonmouth that Marcus got me in his neighborhood, and things gorgeous. And like, I feel like this snake literally lived like in someone's patio its whole life, because there isn't a speck of dirt on it. It's held up all its baby colors, and excuse me, it had given me crap feeding before, and I literally just like held a frozen thawed crawler in front of it, and it was like, oh, thank you very much, keeper. I'll just take that. and just took it. And I was like, all right, it's working. I feel like the animals are responding to the higher ambient temperature much better.
Yeah.
I was actually really afraid that things were going to be freaking out and like, oh my God, it's too hot. Let me out of here, especially the North American colubrids. But dude, it's July and it's the North American colubrids. So they're just eating it up. And what's crazy is the suboc. I swear that snake kills me, man. He literally sprawls out on his specialty enclosure design purchase for the tubs. And I have, it's one of the ones where you can put the water bowl in it, right? So it's got the hole cut out. And he literally just festoons himself across the entire thing. He's just like, yes, give me your warmth. So it's working out, man. And what's
I crack up because I go and check on the rats, and like some days I walk in there and they'll be like spread eagle on the bedding.
Yeah.
Like some of them will even be on their back, just like laying like this. Like just
Yeah.
I feel bad for them because it's hot as balls, but it's makes me laugh every time because they're just like, oh.
It's life, man. And what's crazy is the only enclosures right now that still have a basking light is my 2 adult breeder wrinkles, and it's only on for like 2 hours a day. Those suckers are basking. They're basking. It's got to be over 100 degrees at the hotspot between the ambient of the room and the actual heat of the lamp. It's got to be.
And how long are they doing that for?
I don't know exactly, but I came in the light turns on at noon and turns off at 2. I came in at like 10 in the morning and they were both basking with just the UV. I came in like maybe 12:30, 1 o'clock. They were under the heat lamp with the full hood open, you know, to like maximize that surface area. Yep. And then I came back like 3:30, 4 o'clock after the light was killed. They're still basking. And it's like 87.5 in there Fahrenheit. It's like, Jesus. Like, I'm dying in here. Can't imagine what they're loving it though. So
do you not have like a Wise camera or anything like that?
No, I had Wise at Underground's farm, and dude, the reception would always kick out, and I made the mistake of putting the mounts inside the vision cages, and cobras would just like knock the camera over 20 minutes in. They'd be like, oh look, technology, and just knock it over.
I got a second one for Christmas last year, or for my birthday, I think, and I have that one as like just a room camera, and it's not so. The original one I got has like the motor in it, and it will like you can get it to spin like 360 degrees.
Oh, cool!
Practically. And you can adjust the eye to look up or down. And then the other one I have is just static, but I think it's like a wider angle kind of lens.
Yeah.
And so like with the Jansen eye, you know, when I was waiting on eggs, like I had that thing pointed at that cage, and I could periodically check in without disturbing them, which I think for higher strung species that are prone to disappearing as soon as you walk in the room, like tree monitor guys, I'm talking to you, something like that. I mean, those things you can get them at PetSmart now, and they're only like $30. They're not expensive.
Oh, wow.
And the app, I mean, I found that the app and the connection I have no issues as long as I have service on my phone. Like I can check in anywhere, you know, when it's when it's baby hatching time, I'll put when a clutch starts pipping, I'll put an egg box right under the camera, and I can just check in at work and watch things hatch and like see what's out of the egg and, you know, how things are looking and just watch stuff.
Nice.
And it's come in handy, you know, pairing chondros, being able to go back because if you put a little SD card in it, you can do playback and you can go back the entire night and check to see if there's any locks. Like it's another thing, just like the Govies, it was something that I didn't think I would really use that much, but I actually end up using it, you know, damn near daily.
I'm literally opening the app for Govie right now because I got one on each side of the room and I haven't checked it today. So
yeah, I've been impressed with Wise though. I mean, the app's been really smooth. Like I've never had any issues with it crashing or anything like that. And it's been helpful, especially with the Jansen eye and being able to look and say, okay, that female's been in that lay box from 10 a.m. until 2, and then she came out. I should probably go and check when I get home, you know, and with stuff like that, especially where it's like it's quiet, there's no one in the room, like you can actually see what they're doing because they're actually out and about. You know?
Natural behavior.
Yeah.
Well, I just checked we had major storms this afternoon for probably like 3 hours, 4 hours. And the hottest it got on the south side of the room was 81.7, which is 27.6 Celsius. And the north side of the room, which usually is a little cooler, believe it or not, wound up being 82.2 Fahrenheit, which is 27.9. So it's actually cooler today than it was yesterday. And feeding day, I think it was like 87 when I fed them. So I mean, it was rough for me, but dude, they were loving it. You know, 'tis the season. So
if I could get my room to hit 82 at like the peak of the day and then cool off, like that'd be perfect.
yeah, I mean, your stuff's way more temperate than mine. You know.
True.
Yeah. So I mean, honestly, the only thing in my room that really isn't a desert or montane species is honestly North American colubrids. That's it. Everything else is hot. You know.
Yeah.
So
I've been leaving the fan on too, like my ceiling fan.
I leave it on
just
yeah,
to circulate air and stuff and sort of help get things moving a little more.
Yeah, you gotta.
But the first clutch of corns are out of the egg.
I saw. It's awesome.
So that was the clutch that I thought would be half normals, half tesseras, and like be literally like normal wild type corns, like het for a couple things. The female was a ghost tessera, male was that pied blood red, and I didn't know what hets he had, and everything that came out of those eggs minus tessera is not what I thought it was going to be.
So what'd you get?
I don't know. That's the problem. When you don't know the hets, it kind of sucks. So initially, when the first tessera popped out, I thought maybe it was diffused and maybe that the female was het diffused. But the consensus is from the other people that are much better at corn snake morph stuff than me, which is a lot of people, is they look hypo. So the male must be het hypo because the female's a ghost, so she's already got hypo going on. Mask is definitely there, but that is pretty much guaranteed to be like that's a package deal with diffused and blood red is mask, which is what gives them like those paler heads that have like very little pattern. And there's varying degrees of that with these. So, yeah, so there's some tesseras and there's some of the ones that are like normal as far as the pattern goes. Those are the ones I'm looking at as holdbacks. Like those are nice. I can't wait for them all to shed and see how they pop after that. But yeah, it was wild. I was really expecting that clutch to be just a bunch of, hets, which was fine because I bred that pair to keep the dad's genes sort of flowing and going in case anything ever happened to him since I lost the female, last year. And or this year. It was earlier this year. And it surprised me. It was, I'm not complaining, but it helps to know what your stuff is het for.
Yeah. Yeah. At least some of this stuff is fairly visual. You know what I mean? Like that. You don't have anything that is like calico where you have no idea until it comes later on. You know what I mean? At least you have an idea of what's what,
Yeah.
So, and who knows, man, maybe the hets are just going to be good looking normals,
Yeah. I mean, even though if they all look hypo, which hypo corns are a good looking snake. It'll be interesting because they're carrying that pied gene, but pied is kind of an odd one. It doesn't really work in the traditional way. It's like if you want more pieds, you have to breed pieds, and then it seems to be connected to the diffused gene as well. So there's diffused involved, and it's just.
Is there a case where you may have a diffused baby and there is like a very tiny white spot, like a good white chunk, but it's not necessarily pied? You know what I mean?
I don't know. I don't think so, because some of the pieds, it sounds like most of them don't out of the gate. I mean, some of them do, but it's not uncommon for them to develop that pied. Like the white comes in more and more as they age. But there's some people in Europe that are breeding some pied blood red stuff that like they come out with a ton of white on them. So and maybe that's just a line thing for those particular ones. I don't know, but it's wild.
That's cool, man. I'm still proud of you. Still happy it came out, and I'm eager to see what they turn into. Especially the ones you hold back.
Yeah, some are definitely going to go to Chris. I think he wanted to get some, and I definitely owe him because he sent me a ton of stuff. So got to send him some stuff.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Or if anything, you can always just bring it to Daytona.
That's true. Didn't think about that. Well, see, the issue is with this clutch. I got 12 babies, and I have decided that this is the clutch that I'm going to try to recreate the mouse cutting study with.
All right.
So I made the spreadsheets today.
Excellent.
I went and I weighed them all today, like basically a baseline weight of what they all came out of the egg at. Nothing in them except for whatever yolk may be there still, or whatever. But yeah, so I'm gonna split them in half. One half gets no cuts, one half gets 4 cuts.
So what, 6 and 6 you said?
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I'm gonna
here. Let's rewind. For the people that don't know, why don't you give a real quick synopsis of the study and the point of it?
So like I told Chris and the gang the other day in the Corn Stars chat, like I will die on this hill that this is a thing.
I do that. You got me on it. I'm on it.
So a veterinarian named Connie Hurley back in 2018 did a study on 35 or 36 hatchling corns, where she basically put them into 4 groups. One group got mice that had 4 superficial cuts perpendicular to the spine. Frozen thawed mice, not live. Don't be a freak. And then they had another group that had 3 cuts and then like a deeper cut into the thoracic cavity. Another group that just had the deep cut, and then one group that had no cuts. And she, over the course of 15 meals, she took the weights and things of these animals after they all ate, and she found that in the first group that had the 4 superficial cuts, there was like a 218% increase in length and weight over the course of those 15 meals.
That's crazy.
To the fourth, the control group that had no cuts, which only had like 108% growth increase in that same time period.
I didn't realize it was that much. That's wild.
Yeah. And the other 2 groups also had, a very decent percentage of growth and stuff, more so than the control group. But definitely the one that seemed to be the most effective was that superficial 4 cuts. And the basis of that study was like they're spending, like they're physically, their body is spending a lot of time just trying to get through the skin of prey items.
Yeah. And fur.
Was in order for those juices, like the digestive juices and stomach acids and stuff, to get to where they need to go, they either have to go through the oral membrane or through the like super thin skin of the anal membrane, basically that anal skin, because everything else is thick. It's it's skin that's designed to protect from the elements. It's skin that's designed to help keep things in and stuff out. And so by doing this gives that digestive process a sort of a fast track to the things they need, and they're more efficiently taking in each meal, processing these meals, and getting more out of them, essentially, on a per meal basis. So this is something I've talked about for years. It's something that I do with a lot of my stuff, but I have yet to do it in sort of my own controlled way, where I'm taking the measurements, on a weekly basis, putting them into a spreadsheet, and I'm going to put them in a line graph, at the end of it.
Hell yeah.
And she had, so if there were any animals in that group that refused 2 meals consecutively, so she basically, if an animal refused a meal because it was in a shed cycle, that animal just got like a bye week. But if it was an animal that refused twice in a row, like, maybe it wasn't a shed cycle and then it refused the following meal after a shed cycle, that animal got taken out of the study.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to do something similar like that. I'm weird about feeding stuff that's in the shed cycle anyways, because I feel like it prolongs the amount of time it takes them to actually shed. Like I really feel like it puts the shed cycle completely on pause for like an additional like 3 to 5 days.
Yeah. I've actually had it where it forced to shed. Like they ate and they're like, oh God, I got to get this off before something happens. And they just shed like hours later.
Like every time I do it, I feel like it takes longer. It takes longer for them to digest it, and it takes longer for them to actually shed. Like it's.
And here's my thing too. And so, some of the snakes that are heavily patterned or an already lightly colored animal, I may not even notice that it's in shed. You know what I mean? Like the Honduran milk snakes. Sometimes I can't tell at all, and then like 3 days later they shed, and I'm like, man, I never saw you get blue at all. So I'd feed them. They'd eat, but if they didn't eat, I just chalked it up to, all right, you didn't feel like eating, not necessarily the fact that they're in a shed cycle. So
right.
I don't know, if I was you, I probably wouldn't take them out. I would just factor that in that, I don't know.
Well, it wouldn't get taken out. It's just like if I ended up like I probably would give them a bye week if they're in a shed cycle. So they wouldn't get fed that week.
Even how many bye weeks does each animal get? Like, are you doing like one freebie every 90 days or something?
So she did her study based on each animal getting 15 meals.
Oh, okay.
So
it wasn't like a whole year,
right?
Oh, okay. I thought you were doing like a 12-month plan or something.
No, and I mean I'm not exactly sure. I haven't decided how long I want to roll with it. If I want to stick and try the 15 meal thing, or if I want to take it farther than that. I've tried to do it in the past with other stuff, and it always ended up being like I was in a rush to get things fed because we were going somewhere, and so it was like, okay, you're supposed to get cuts and you're not, but it's like I got to get you fed, so whatever, it's not going to happen. So this time I'm making a conscious effort to make sure I'm weighing everything on the same day. And
are you going to do you feed all your animals in one day or no?
Yes.
The snakes. Okay. So are you going to have
of them? So like smaller stuff gets fed more frequently than the older, like the adult animals.
Right.
So all that stuff will get fed the same day. And then usually like the bigger stuff, they'll all get fed the same day too. So.
Well, because I was going to say let's say, Thursday is your feeding day or every other Thursday is your feeding day, whatever your sequence is. You may want to do like the Wednesday before, just those corns. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, what my plan is to weigh them before I feed them.
Right.
And then the following week, weigh them before I feed them. Basically, that gives them time to have digested it, past whatever needs to be passed so that it's not, in theory, it may very well not happen that way. But, I mean, they're colubrids, so
sure,
probably will.
Yeah.
And then I think that'll yield pretty consistent results, but it's going to be interesting. I weighed them all today. The range in weights was from I think 6.2 to 7.4 grams.
Okay.
Was the smallest and the biggest.
I feel like that's big babies.
They were incubated at lower temperatures.
Yeah.
So they're definitely chunky. This is the first clutch from that female. So there's a second clutch that she laid that's got 10 eggs. Hurley did that study with several clutches with animals sort of randomly picked and assigned to different, either the control group, A group, B group, C group, whatever. This, I'm wondering if it would be, and I'm sure, Wyman can chime in or Doc Loveman could chime in, but if I'm using the same clutch and genetically they're all the same in terms of like there's no genetic like leg up from one clutch compared to another, if that is going to have more solid results. But we'll see. I don't know. I'm just going to log it, and then I have the spreadsheets. I made them today, plugged in all those first weights, and we'll see what happens.
I'm excited, man. I want to see how it goes.
I've been wanting to do it forever. And so I finally decided, I was like, I got even number of animals.
Yeah.
Maybe the problem, the issue is like, if I'm doing it for any sort of extended period of time, like I have to keep those animals and I have to keep doing it.
Yeah.
So that's one of the issues why I never really stuck with it in the past, is because it was like, I got to get some animals gone. I've got too many, I gotta get some sold. So this time I think we're good. And I got a label maker. Finally, I broke down. I got tired of struggling to read my own handwriting.
Nice.
On masking tape, and I got tired of ink from the Sharpie smudging over time.
Oh yeah.
So I finally just broke down, and I think I went through one roll of labels already. Like
nice.
Just yesterday, get everything set up in that XR16 rack. And then I'm almost positive I used at least half the second roll that came with it.
That's good, man. That's great. How'd you do your IDs?
So typically I'm pretty simple. Like with this clutch, I have the pairing, so it'll say PBR XGT, which is Pied Blood Red to Ghost Tessera. And then the serial number is 0123 C1. So number 1 of 23 of that clutch 1. And that's typically how I do them pretty much every year.
And you don't incorporate the gender into the code?
If I know it, I will.
Okay.
I popped a few of these tonight. I'm gonna wait until the rest shed, because Chris told me it's usually a little easier to pop after they've had that first shed. And last year I tried that, and it definitely seemed to be. So I'm gonna give them a couple more days, and then I'll do it. But with those, I'm just taking the Sharpie, because there's usually a decent margin on the side of the text on the tape. For some reason, it drives me crazy, because it's like I'm wasting so much tape.
I know.
I just take a Sharpie and I write the sex on there.
Yeah.
Kills me. Like, this stuff's expensive as shit, man. It's like, you got me wasting like probably a third of the roll is just those margins.
Yeah, well, you figure it's at least an inch every time you cut. Like every time you write something out, regardless how long it is, it's about a half an inch on the end, on each end. Excuse me.
Well, the problem I have too is they have 2 font sizes, which is small and large.
Yeah.
The small is pretty small, but uses less tape. The large is pretty large and uses more tape. It's like, I really wish I could have something like right in the middle, because I hate using more tape to use the large letters. But especially if I have stuff that's got like, that's a 3G animal, it's a Ultramel, Stripe, Hypo, Het, Anery.
Well, who made your label maker?
Brother.
Okay, so if you have a brother machine, there should be a return button that has the arrow to like return to the next line, right? An enter button, if you will, on a keyboard. Mm-hmm. And you can put 2 lines in large font, and it will make it that medium font.
I almost tried it the other day, but I don't know what it did. It put in some weird like symbol or something, and so I was like, I don't know what that means.
Okay, so because all right, so you only have one LCD screen, right? It's a straight line.
Yeah.
So if I type in Justin Smith and I hit return, it'll give me the arrow symbol, right?
Right.
And then I keep typing, Justin Smith again. When I print it, it'll say Justin Smith twice with no arrow, no nothing.
It's the M series, if that makes a difference.
It won't, but as long as you're hitting the return key, it'll show the arrow symbol, and that's basically telling you just returned to the next line. And I used to do that like on all my cages, because it would say like danger venomous reptile, and then the next line it would say 0.0.1 Crotalus adamantius or whatever. The only thing that drove me crazy that I could never figure out, and this is just my OCD kicking in, is it wouldn't center the words. It would all be from left to right. So like the left side was straight, but the right side was like, but I guess
those things have gotten surprisingly cheap though. I mean, the one that I got was $20.
Yeah. You spent $20 on tape.
$25 if you're counting the 4 AAAs I had to buy with it.
Yeah, exactly.
2 rolls. I think the rolls for that series too are only like $11.60.
Oh, okay.
I decided not to go with anything crazy. They had like a $30 model that was twice the size, but the rolls were also twice the price. And I was like,
exactly. Yeah. Not for this.
I've always been a masking tape and Sharpie guy when it comes to that stuff, and it got to the point that I was like, I honestly, my handwriting is so bad. There are sometimes I look at it and I'm like, I have no idea what that even says. It's bad. And it finally just got to the point where I was like, let's make this easy.
We'll try the return arrow so you can get 2 lines of characters, right? And don't go crazy and redo your entire room just because you learned that feature. But on all your further ones, trust me, it'll help.
I'm gonna go get it. I'm gonna try it right now.
Go get it. Go get it. Well, while we're waiting for him to get it, because he's very excited, God bless. I used to do everything with a brother label maker, and then I got Cloud Forest Design labels, and there's no going back. There's no going back. Cloud Forest Design, shameless plug. I don't get anything out of it, but I love his stuff. So check him out. Anti-venom labels if you keep venomous. Holiday labels if you're festive. I think he does a Halloween one. I think he does a Valentine's Day one. And they're $5, and it's worth every penny. It's got a photo of the animal. It's got a map of where they come from, a locality map. It's got the common name, the scientific name. It's got some fun facts. So rock and roll. And yeah, labels, the weird things, the weird things that go with our hobby, with our discipline. So much extra stuff. It's crazy.
So this is a brother P touch.
Yes, the P touch, the classic
M tape,
the classic P touch.
Yay big.
Oh, you got a big screen. You got a huge screen. Look at that.
I guess I don't.
Dude, that's like 3 times the size of the screen that I had on mine.
Walmart, bro.
Crazy, bro.
Yeah, so like I'm having to use shorter, like stripes.
All right, so
STRPE.
So also I like capitals because not because I'm screaming at everyone, but it's easier to read from across the room.
Screens are getting smaller. My eyes are getting older.
All right, so let's do this test. The first test, just type in Justin Smith, then hit that return arrow button. And for those of you on your commute to work listening to this, I'm sincerely sorry that we're doing this on your radio.
Okay.
You see the little return arrow, little L-shaped arrow?
Yep.
All right, now type in.
I hit that.
Okay, now type in Phil Wolf. So it should say Justin Smith, arrow squiggly, Phil Wolf, right?
Yeah.
But it should all still be on the same line, right?
Correct.
Now hit print.
Let me see if you can even see that.
Yep, that looks good.
Okay.
So now hit print, and it should print on 2 lines.
You're gonna owe me for this.
That's fine. I will
3-inch piece I'm gonna be using right
now. I will buy you a whole roll for Daytona.
I now understand why my mom, when she had one of these when I was a kid, was like, "Don't play with it."
Yeah. Do you remember the
Holy shit!
It worked. It worked.
Oh man!
I just blew his mind.
I could have just saved a whole roll of tape.
I know, right? Well, now you know, man.
There's got to be a way to center it.
Yeah, there's got to be a way. I mean, yours probably there is a way. Mine was 20 years ago, 15 years ago. So what the hell do I remember?
Again, $20 at Walmart, man.
Yeah.
Not a bad deal.
Can you hear my dog barking or no?
Faintly.
Okay. Do you remember back in the day, like this was probably, it's got to be 80s, where it was like a blue tape with like a metallic punch, and the metallic punch made the letters white, and they were like raised. Those things, I remember having them all over my house, and then they only lasted for so long, and then the whole metallic strip would peel off.
Yeah.
My, how we've come.
Well, I mean, so this came with a roll of like white tape, and then the second roll was like silver. So I was like, I don't want silver, man. Just give me my tape. I'll take whatever color. I just want it to be free.
Yeah, right. Well, I'm glad it panned out for you, and don't stay up all night trying to figure out how to center it because you may not be able to.
I saved the instruction manual, so.
Beautiful.
I like it.
Well, on the note of organizationalness, if that's even a word, I just did an episode with Matt and Peggy on Herb Talk Radio about moving animals and moving collection. We didn't go too in depth into my move because that show we departure so often, which is half the fun. But I also knew that you wanted to have some more moving chit chat. And I know we didn't really get to do a lot of it on the last show that we did. So was there any questions or any conversations that you wanted to have about that topic?
Nothing like major, I guess.
Okay.
For like hurricane prep, which I know we've talked about previously.
Yeah.
When you're bagging everything and boxing everything, are you basically doing the same thing that you would do if you were moving them? Or are you taking them with you if you're not? Do you take that stuff with you if you evacuate or no?
Well, I've never evacuated.
If you had to.
If I had to, that's exactly what I would do. It would be the exact same process. So larger animals would get bagged into a bag, and then that bag gets put into another bag, and on the outside of that bag is written danger venomous reptile with the species name and how many animals are in that bag. And then that bag gets put into an escape proof container. Some guys use the big black tubs from Home Depot with the yellow lid, and they just zip tie it. I have those, and I actually have wooden crates with screen mesh on the opening lid where I could put like a padlock on it. So there's a lot of different ways to do it, but regardless, it all has to say danger venomous reptile, and then you have to have an inventory of what's in that box on the outside. So like for me, I just got a piece of paper, I write everything out, tape that piece of paper to the outside of the box, and we're good to go. If it's a smaller animal, it's all the exact same, but it goes into a deli container. The deli container gets electrical taped around the rim or around the sides, however you do it. That way that if the animal pushes itself, like stretches its body, it can't pop that lid open and escape. That does not have to be double backed because it's in a rigid container within another rigid container, you know?
Gotcha.
And then the biggest thing that I learned from it is have enough containers for everything that you have, because I did not. And when I was prepping everything before the move, I was like, oh my God, I don't have enough snake bags. I don't have enough deli cups. What the crap? So I had to go and pull a bunch of old pillowcases from my linen closet that I haven't used in forever. I wound up using those. And then at the same time, I'm a real stickler about snake bag corners. Anybody who's put a lot of snakes in a lot of bags, that they push their face into that corner and they'll actually bust the stitching. So a lot of actual snake bags that are purchased as snake transportation bags, they'll have the corners stitched with a zigzag stitching, like a scissor stitching or a zipper stitching, excuse me. And that way it makes a rounded corner and it can't put pressure there to pop that stitch. So what I did was I actually zip tied the corners of each of the venomous bags, as well as using appropriate zip ties at the top to tie it with a knot and everything else. But I like the zip ties on venomous because now I leave the long extension of the zip tie still there. I don't cut it off. And now I have an extra handle. So I can grab the zip tie and I can pick up a bag with two hands, one at the knot end to keep my distance and the other one by the zip tie, and I don't have to touch the bag at all. So, and I can even grab it with hemostats if I need to, if I really want to be extra safe. So little things like that really make the move. But that was the biggest thing for me with that was I was like, man, I don't have enough deli cups. And like, that was the thing is I think I had enough for the venomous. I didn't have enough for the harmless. And then some of the cobras, like I took the Ethiopian cobra out, and that thing's got to be at least 6'1", 6'2". And I'm like, holy crap, this thing grew like crazy. I haven't like stretched him out in a while. You know what I mean? Because usually it's out of the cage into the holding container, clean the cage, take him out, put him back. It's real quick. But when you're trying to bag him, which I never do because I never have to, now I see that this animal is all of 6 foot, and like, holy crap. When did you grow up, So
I finished the Athers book.
Oh, do tell.
Oh man,
you read it cover to cover?
Yeah.
Wow, very nice.
Yeah,
very nice.
I mean, it's everything I hoped it would be and more. It goes over all the species. It goes over the other sort of sister taxa, the Proatheris and Montatheris.
Nice.
What
are they calling Montatheris?
So the neat thing is they also go into sort of the synonyms and taxonomy of what they were when they first sort of were discovered and how it evolved over time.
Okay.
Very initially, early on, they were considered Vipera,
Right.
but now they're Montatheris hindii,
Okay.
which was a typo by, I think, Belanger.
Really?
Or not Belanger, but Belanger's typist, because he had handwritten notes. They say in the book that he had handwritten notes, but when he turned this into the typist misprinted. It was Hindei is what it should have been. Typist put it in as Hindii.
Okay.
And I guess because of rules, it never changed. That had to be it. So, yeah, it's strange.
That's crazy.
But it's a very small montane, like it kind of like it looks like if you said, okay, that's related to bush vipers, you could be like, okay, I can kind of see it a little bit. Let me pull it up. Why paint a picture with words when I can just show you?
Yeah, of course.
2023, we have the internet. And I can't spell. Good Lord. I think they were also at one point in Bidis, and that got shifted. But they're these very small little montane, like grassland vipers that are, of course, critically endangered.
While you do that, I was just looking back on some of the comments. Lisa asked if she wants to know if there's going to be a growth rate difference between males and females with your study.
Yeah, that'll be interesting too. I don't recall Hurley mentioning anything in her study in the findings.
Okay.
But I don't know. I'm also interested to see if it changes across species too. You know, if the results would be different for beards, if they would be different for chondros, if they would be different for rhinos.
Sure. Look at that snake. I've never seen that before. How have I not seen this before?
They look like a lot like atropos.
They do, yeah.
But
it kind of has a
small. They're very small.
It kind of has a city broadhead kind of look to it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's crazy. Where are they from?
Kenya.
Really?
Yep.
Why have I not ever seen this?
Well, that's the wild thing that I never really thought of or realized. But so many of the Atheris species have tiny distributions like this, where it's literally like maybe a small group of dots in a particular sort of mountain, chain or range.
Right.
So like aside from squams, which stretch
everywhere,
pretty much across the center of Africa from coast to coast, it seems like, and even up into, the Ivory Coast a little bit. But so many species of Atheris, their ranges look just like this, where it's just little dots.
Yeah.
And some of that is because some of these countries are so war-torn and such freaking if the ranges are larger than what they think it is.
Right.
The guy that authored the book does mention in a lot of the species sort of descriptions and accounts that the ranges of some of these are likely bigger, but because no one's able to actually get there and look, there's no way to say for sure, but basically don't be surprised if they are encountered in places outside of that.
Yeah. It's wild. It almost has a Bilineatus cantil face.
Yeah, it's this sort of weird amalgamation of like Vipera, Bidis, Achistrodon.
Yeah, super cool. Convergent as hell.
They're cool, and they say that they live in like grasses, and they're not really arboreal. They just find them in like these little pads of grass in these fields and stuff. And they have the book also does a really good job of showing you like habitat pictures and stuff.
Nice.
So you see, where these things are living. It's pretty cool.
Very cool. That's awesome.
It's a great book. I will cherish it forever. It has a good section on husbandry and breeding, and
Nice.
a section on venom. With that genus, and it talks about all 18 species. He even goes to say, like, basically, I'm not a taxonomist. I'm not a scientist. You may not consider some of these to be valid species, but for the sake of this book, I separated them, because there are a few species of Atheris that are only known from a holotype, or singular animals, and some of them haven't even been seen alive in decades. So there are a few where it's pictures of one of the museum specimens or something, but it's pretty interesting. He also mentions that in not only squams but also rungwaensis, there is likely some cryptic speciation going on there, kind of like with what we saw with chondros.
Okay.
And how, because like with rungwaensis in particular, those used to be considered a subspecies of Nichiae. That changed, but they say that there's like a northern type and a southern type, because they morphologically they look different. So they think that maybe there's more going on there. And then in squams, just given their range, they think that there's more going on there too.
Nice.
And there's a species actually they mention. I think it's Ancelepis, which is it had full species status, and it's basically very similar to squams, minus some minor differences. I don't remember off the top of my head what they were, so I don't know. But it talks about like broadlii, Matildae, subocularis, which I didn't even realize was a species.
I don't even know what that is.
It's this species that's phylogenetically closely related to squams.
Okay.
The book also mentions that particular part was interesting, because he mentions that they're not even 100% sure if it's legitimately a species, because they've only found males. They've not found a female of that species, and so they think that maybe those in particular is just a distinct population of squams, and females look like normal squams, but males are smaller, like wimpier looking, much more drab in color.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's
kind of a Wagler Viper scenario.
Kinda, yeah. But they
Very
talk
cool.
about Hispida and Hirsuta, and
yeah,
all of them.
Yeah, you said there was a section on superciliaris.
Yep,
that's awesome. It's
on
my list, man.
There was one also on what was adenorhinos.
I don't know that one.
Look that up, because those are interesting too, because that's like similar to that Montatheris.
Right.
Let me see. Rhinos. It's now Atheris barberi.
Oh, okay. None of the species.
Yeah, but it used to be monotypic. Used to be adenorhinos, but
really, I didn't know that.
Those are really weird, because they're these odd little. The odd thing too is like a lot of these sort of smaller, more oddball Atheris are mostly like slug eaters.
Yeah.
Like they've come to find that they really don't even eat mammals hardly at all. A lot of them are lizard eaters or slug eaters.
Yeah.
But you look at
Hispida.
You look at barberi, and again, it's another one where it's like, okay, I can see where like it kind of looks like it could belong to the genus, and how it even has sort of full Atheris status, I find strange, because again, it looks nothing like everything else in the genus. It's very clearly something different.
They still have that head, that Atheris.
Yeah, but even then, I mean, look at that.
Head.
It's odd.
Yeah.
And I think they said phylogenetically, these are also the closest thing they're related to are squams.
Really? Not Hispida?
Yeah.
Very interesting. It's always crazy to see the hand holding pictures. I feel like if you ever find one in the wild, you're like almost obligated to do it, but because there's so many hand holding pictures, and all I could think of is
They're
like, I
so,
would never hold that thing.
so damn adorable.
They're so adorable.
Look at that little guy.
I know.
He just wants a friend.
And for those listening, it's basically a slug eating snake bred with a squam. If you wanted to
It's
look at it that way,
freaking Goomba from Mario Brothers in snake form is what it is.
It is 1,000% a Goomba.
There's a Matilde.
Nice.
Which I find awesome that those used to get imported as ceratophora.
Yeah.
And no one, like, I'm surely someone saw it and questioned it. Was like, this isn't, like, a group of ceratophora came in looking like this. And
Dude, I've seen it in person.
These can't be regular ceratophora.
I personally cracked open a box at Strictly back in 2009, 2008. And we had, I think it was like 25 or 26 ceratophora. And there was at least 7 or 8 of them that look like that.
Yeah.
So.
Mabuensis, that's one of the newer species. It's from Mozambique. That's kind of newer to the genus.
Yeah.
There's this, and there's another species that they found that's
that Barbari picture. Like, that's the famous picture right there.
Yeah. There's a couple species that were just like these tiny little pockets that are somehow just different. You know, they're their own.
Yeah.
They're surrounded by squams and other species in the genus, but they're their own thing. Desai,
yeah, I know. Awesome.
God. It also, I like that he also gave sort of the species status in herpetoculture for each one too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, granted, there were some where he was like, "Yeah, no one's got these." Yeah. Even the Hispida and stuff. He's like, people get these, but they die really well.
Yep.
They last about a month.
Oh man, I had one at least 6 months, and then I got rid of it like an idiot. But again, I'm feeding it green tree frogs every 4 days, and it's like, I can't keep this up. That's why I got rid of it.
Yeah. Well, he mentions, like what the stomach contents were found in, and some of the animals, like the holotypes and things like that. Like, it's in depth, but it's not so in depth that it's like overwhelming. It's like just the right amount of information.
Nice.
It's really well done, and I love the fact that the guy isn't even like a professional like herpetologist or anything. He's just a dude that loves the genus.
That's awesome. That's the best kind of book, man.
Yeah, dude, it's great.
It's the best kind of book. Did he mention any studies to kind of do like what Natush did?
In terms of
like
genetic cryptic diversity?
Figuring out that, all the squams are the same or not the same or whatever.
No, I think it was mostly like
just speculation
among theorized, and it needs to be done, and it sounded like maybe it was something people were gonna do eventually, but who knows?
Okay.
Like
what's that book right there with the Rhabdophis on it?
Book of Snakes, a life-sized guide to 600 species from around the world by O'Shea. Oh, that must be like the Thai version of O'Shea's book.
Oh, yeah. That's pretty cool. Caught my eye.
Look at that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
What was your experience with ceratophora, though? Because he does mention in the book that ceratophora are like notoriously difficult to keep.
They are notoriously difficult to keep.
Really? Because it never seemed like it was something. They never struck me as something that was that difficult.
The problem is, the guys who kept a group of them and just left them be, they were fine. It was the guys who had 1 or 2, and that was like a pet. Those are the ones that died, and I really feel like I had to do a lot with feeding cycles and stress. I feel like they stress super duper easy. And I feel like they were just forced rodents, and it just wasn't right, and that's why they crashed. And again, the times that I kept them, I was keeping them for sale at Strictly. And if they didn't want to take a pinky, well, they got an annul, and they ate the annul, and they lived in a windowless box. So they did well, and then we sold them, and they flew out, and I never know what happens after that. But
Yeah, I just remember seeing them available all the time, but I never heard anything about them being difficult to keep alive until
Yeah.
the book. He talks about it multiple
Yeah.
times that they were a struggle for a lot of people for some reason. I always thought it cool that Nipper had broadly eye.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure. And I mean,
guess
we had to say I come in too, and dude, those things just ate off tongs. Those things were awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's such a cool species.
I
Like
know,
the fact that
dude, so cool.
is whittled down via evolution, and you get something that badass looking.
Yeah.
It's just
Incredible.
ridiculous.
Africa, man. I love it.
Yeah. They showed some of the different like color forms and stuff too of some of these. I guess there's some Desai that don't even have really this tipping as much. It's just black along the dorsal.
Oh, really?
Pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's such a cool group of snakes.
So cool. So cool. I'm waiting for someone to do an Echis book the same way that this guy did a Atheros book, because there is so many Echis that just don't look like they're supposed to. And I was just watching a video of, I actually shared it on Venom Exchange Radio's Instagram
look
story.
Like they're supposed to. How?
So, like, okay, you have Sukrekai from Central India, and it looks a certain way. And then you have Sukrekai from Pakistan, and it looks a certain way.
Right.
And then you see this baby that's just trippy, just crazy zigzags. And the guy's like, oh no, this is from Central India. And you get another guy who's in Pakistan, and it's the same exact pattern, but it's red. And it's like, these are not phenotypes, dude. These are like, they need to do work on it, because there's so many regional variances and regional localities of patterning and color that I'm sure it's a chondro scenario. I'm sure of it.
Oh, I would have no doubt. I mean, when you're dealing with a genus in particular with a range that massive that spans so much real estate,
and just like Trimercerus and Pariah, like you have half of them that lay eggs and half of them that don't.
Right.
Better yet, but let me rephrase that. You have the same species that, depending on where it is, lays eggs or gives live birth.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is wild to me.
I mean, I would consider that to be a pretty good marker for splitting, as opposed to
exactly
slight variations in scalation versus or a color morph of a particular area. Something like that. I'm like, okay, I think that would warrant investigation a little further. Like, clearly that's a pretty big difference in terms of like overall biology and stuff. Like, that's got to be got to be something. It's too odd. Like, if I heard of like Adamantius somewhere further down the coast that were laying eggs instead of live, I'd be like, probably want to look into that.
Yeah exactly
because I think it's similar, like the Diones too. It wouldn't surprise me if those ended up having, and I guess that's the tough part with the splitting and the lumping, is like there has to be more than one factor that can dictate that kind of thing. Like, given the amount of space that the range of Diones has, naturally you're going to have a lot of genetic variance from Siberia to Western Europe. There's going to be differences. Obviously, the stuff that's on one side is not going to be the same as the other, especially when you're considering the span of time that it took for that species to eventually have such a broad range. That by the time you start to the time you end, like, they're going to be fairly different genetically. I would think. I could be completely wrong. Same with, I feel like Echis, it's the same thing, where it's like there's such a large range and you have so many different biomes, behaviorally, like ecologically, they're living different lives from the natural history aspect. Like, maybe some group is eating on strictly geckos and another group is feeding almost entirely on mice, because that's just what's available, and over time they just shift and dwarfism occurs, or something, you have particular population that's just massive for the genus. Like,
yeah,
what's the, how many boxes do they have to tick to qualify? I guess is kind of the question.
Yeah. Do they go down as far like into central China? I mean, and if they do they go west to like Tibet and Nepal?
Diones?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like the Diones and Bimaculata almost meet in the middle, if I'm not mistaken. I'm having to dig back through the messenger book.
Like Himalayas
like
across
if
China.
you split China in half,
Right.
Diones come down pretty far, and then Bimaculata are slightly below those, and there is some intergrade there.
Okay.
But the range for Bimaculata is way smaller than Diones.
Yeah. Yeah.
And those are that's another interesting one, because those are very closely related. They look very similar. Bimaculata have a different number of chromosomes than Diones do, and the structure of the hemipenes is different in the two.
Okay.
So it's bizarre because they get mixed up a lot. They get sold as Diones when they're actually Bimaculata, vice versa. Crosses, intergrades get sold as Diones, and they're not.
Sure.
But there's straight up a difference in the number of chromosomes.
Yeah, that's wild.
And you wouldn't know that looking at them. If you saw them side by side and you had no idea what they were, you would say they were the same snake.
Yeah.
Unless you had some of the radical like phase differences, the striped versus the barred Bimaculata against, a regular Diones. It's not going to be as obvious. But yeah, it's wild. Nature's weird. How's that cigar?
Yeah, it's all right. I let it cool off.
It's a cigar.
Yeah, exactly. It's a cigar. I let it cool off a little bit. I'll probably light it in a few minutes just to see where it's at. I mean, it's gotten cool, so I'll try and push some of it out and see if that helps a little bit. But how's that?
Oh, it's amazing.
Nice.
Always amazing. What other? Like, how many different species of Echis would you get in at the shop?
So it depends on the time of the year. So like underground would get underground did a lot of Egypt, and that would be Pyramidium and Coloradus.
Mm-hmm.
And then hold on a second, the dog's going crazy.
Boy, some of those Coloradus though.
Oof, I know, right?
Those pink ones.
So then Strictly would also get Egypt, but then we also would get, we would get Kenya, we would get Uganda, we would get I'm trying to think where else had Echis.
What species is in Uganda?
I think it's still Coloradus. I don't remember. And then they would get like a ton of West Africa. Mm-hmm. So like Benin, Togo, stuff out of Liberia, Cote d'Ivory, where else? Stuff that was, I guess, Nigerian that got walked over to Ghana and out of Ghana. And most of it was Leucogaster. And then I want to say there was some Romani. And actually, Henry and I had gotten a pair of Leucogaster, and the girl looked totally different than the boy, and they never bred. And I did everything by the book, man, and they just never bred. And Henry was like, dude, I think it's Romani. And I don't know. I wanted to believe, but she wound up passing away before we really ever did like a scale count or anything. But I had them paired up. I had them cohabbing for like 4 or 5 years. Man, now I'm drawing blanks as to the species. Hold on a second. Let me look at like my notes and shit. Hold on.
It's unbelievable that such a small snake can pack such a punch.
I know, it's wild, right? And then I had a Sucrekai that someone smuggled and as a gift and Had I known they were doing that, I would have told them not to, but it still was super cool. And the only thing I get to eat was crickets. It was a baby, it was a neonate, and it wound up passing away.
Yeah.
Carnatus, excuse me. We would get Carnatus, we get Coloratus, Jogarai, that's what it was, not Romani, Jogarai. I don't know why I came up with Romani. Leucogaster, Ocellatus.
Yeah.
Dude, Ocellatus. Yeah. And I'm sure there was Romanis in there too, but the one I was thinking of was Leucogaster. Hang on a second. Trying to find the most recent Colorado's pictures. Hold on a second.
What species that was imported regularly was always the one that you dreaded having to deal with the most? In general, not necessarily, but
just in general. I mean,
where they say, "Hey, we got a box of this coming in," and you're like, "Damn it, like, I don't want to."
I mean, first inclination is mambas and spitters. It's just a pain in the ass, man. It's just a pain in the ass. Like the amount of safety protocol that has increased in my mind is annoying. You know what I mean? Because it's like, okay, I'm not just sitting.
I would imagine wild caught mambas would be a considerably larger pain to deal with than captive.
Yeah, wild caught mambas, wild caught spitters. The worst is honestly Egyptian cobras. Egyptian cobras from Egypt. You get them in, and there's just, 30 or 40 of them, and like they're just separating them and hydrating them, and they just don't want to ride a hook, and they just want to hood up and stare you down and come at you, and it's just annoying. I would say, but honestly, right out of the gate, like my first instinct is to say wild mambas and wild spitters, African spitters specifically.
Like reds?
Dude, reds are atrocious, and honestly, Mozambiques are the worst. Mozambiques are the worst. I think, as the South Africans call it, Mfizi is an absolutely amazing animal. I love it. They're so cool. I love the species. It's a beautiful, iconic, scary species.
Those aren't really like imported though, right? Like
they used to, but they used to be.
Really?
Yeah, because they're cheap. But dude, what a freaking handful! Like, just what a handful. Them and the Sumatrana, the equatorial spitter, and because there's the whole thing of equatorial spitters actually produce venom as they're spitting, and it literally doesn't run out of ammo. So like some snakes, they'll spit 3 or 4 times, and they'll take a few minutes, or maybe a minute or 2 break. No, these things are just like bang, bang, couple seconds, bang, bang, couple seconds, bang, couple seconds. It's like, what am I doing here? Why am I doing this? Hold on, let me find this Ocellatus that we just got. Hold on.
Scott Iper.
Oh, we got Iper in the house? I was actually just thinking of him. I love going onto my photo album on my phone and just typing the word snakes, and then like how many photos come up. It's intense. It's intense. Do you want me to hold the phone to the screen, or do you want me to send it to you?
You can hold it up.
Okay. All right. This was last year, and dude, these things were just insane. The contrast, and these came out of I think these came out of Ghana. Hold on.
And if it bites you, you're a Ghana.
Yeah. It's also wild with the imports is that they're in as much shock, as anything else, but they give you the full sense of security. They're like, oh man, I'm finally out of this bag. Oh, you gave me water. Thank you, human. You gave me water. Oh, by the way, watch out, I'm a soft-scale viper. They do this crazy spazzing
As a
out
thank you, I
song.
will only minimally try to murder you.
Yes, exactly. Check out these animals, dude. Look at these things.
Have you ever seen? Does anybody do anything? I know Cort's had superciliaris for a while now, but at one point a while back, I don't know if he still does or not. But it's like it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of people with those either.
Yeah, I got a couple friends that have them. Most of the people that have them right now in the States all have captive bred babies from Europe. Mm-hmm. So I would say in the next 4 or 5 years, I'll have hopefully have access to some captive bred U.S. babies, because they are 1,000% on my list. I mean,
the book also said they're pretty easy to keep and pretty easy to breed.
Yeah. I think they're more on my list than like Worthington Eye or anything. Don't tell Nipper. I mean, that like this is my buddy. This is my buddy's baby. He's raising up. But like, look at that thing.
Oh yeah.
You know, that thing is killer. And then, dude, like, look at, they're just so cute. Look at this little face. Look at this little lethal hog nose. Look at him.
The book also said they were surprisingly toxic too.
Yeah, right. What is it? Deceivingly toxic. I'll give it a couple more seconds. If I can't find the photo, then we'll move on. But where the hell are these photos? It was only last year. What am I doing here? Oh no.
It's a problem if you have that many snake pictures to dig through.
Yeah, well, I type in snake. Oh, here we go. So same locality, different phenotype.
Oh wow.
Yeah, insane. And then we got in Pyramidium too. At that same time, we got an Egypt shipment, and dude, the Pyramidium that came in this past year, whew. And like, it's tough, man, because like echis really aren't my thing, but you see it and it's like, that's a small snake. I don't need that big of a cage. What's another one? You know, I gotta talk myself out of it. Oh man. Like, look at these things. Actually, this is Leucogaster.
Mm-hmm.
Photos just don't do justice, man.
Pick up your fucking skateboard. I just heard your mom yell your name or something. Someone yelled your name. Maybe.
Oh, really? I don't think that's not me. Maybe it's a neighbor.
The meatloaf.
I just hear the dog barking.
We want it now.
So, yeah. Echis.
They're cool.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem, I don't know. It seems like those were something that was kept a lot more regularly, you know, back in like the mid 2000s.
Yeah. There's more people keeping some of the smaller stuff like that. And it's just not public. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I got friends that have Worthington Eye that they're going to breed. Bitis, Rubidia.
Nice.
Yeah, and the superciliaris, man. I mean, I'm so stoked for that. I really am.
Is there a reason we don't see a lot of Caudalis or Cornuta?
I think it's just price.
Yeah,
I really do. I think most of the dwarf Bitis. First of all, no one breeds them in the U.S. that is willing to part with them. Mm-hmm. And the people that I know that keep them, it's all captive bred from Europe. So, and it's honestly been within the past 4 or 5 years. I think because of Facebook and just groups online and Instagram and just people communicating, there is more communication in that niche market between Europe and the United States,
Right.
and therefore cool stuff comes in. You know, I got a buddy down in Miami. He's got Cape. He's got uh, wow. Now I can't remember the locality, but regardless, South African puff adders, captive bred, and I'm gonna go grab a pair from him probably next week, babies, and he brings in cornuta. He's got cornuta, you know, and now I can't remember what's the desert one. Why can't I remember the desert one? The desert bitis, Zirapaga. Excuse me, bitis
Oh, those are
Zirapaga.
neat too.
Yeah, dude, he's got a group of Zirapaga, and like I cannot wait for him to produce that because that is going right in my room. So
Puffs seem like one that's just like after a while you're tired of their bullshit.
and they're really not that bad if you are calm and give them space and just don't mess with them. It's the people that mess with them that just I've had a lot of puffs over the years. Tanzanian, South African, Mozambique. Um, I never really had issues because you go smooth, you go quick, you keep the snake balanced on two hooks, out of the enclosure into the tub, what have you, out of the enclosure onto the floor, take some photos, whatever. Feeding is never an issue. And then I would get an apprentice who would try and just yoink that thing out of the cage or dump the tub out on the floor because they didn't want to reach into the tub or whatever. And like the snake knows what's going on. It gets irritated. You know what I mean? Or they're tickling with the tip of the hook. They don't commit fully to the scoop. You know, they're using a hook head that's too thin or not positioned right. You know, now they're pinching ribs or pinching skin. And that dude, puffs lash out. It's what they do, man. It's one of the fastest strikes in the world.
Hold on.
Yeah, I see you're lagging a little bit. And yes, Scott, Xenopaga. What did I say? Zerapaga? I was close. Yeah, Scott said it great. He says, I have said it many times. Venomous snakes are not playthings.
there?
Confident and smooth equals safe. And there goes Smitty. But that's all right. He'll be back. So yeah, I think that I feel like there's a lot of cool stuff in the woodworks with uh responsible venomous keepers doing things right, and we're segueing more into a better venomous keeper with better venomous animals. I really do. And yes, that means that your $30 puff adder is now going to be a $300 puff adder, but that's okay because the people that are committed to the species or the locality, they're going to do what's right and go from there, you know. And Henry's telling me that Zerapaga or CITES too. They may very well be, but I know for a fact that the ones that are here are legit papered. So like pedigree stuff from zoo stock or whatever. Yeah. You're back. Yay.
So I missed pretty much all of what you just said about puffs.
No, I was just saying is keep them calm, don't be a jerk, know what you're doing, and they're perfectly fine. You know. But be prepared to have them lash out irrationally because they're puffs, and that's what puffs do. They lash out irrationally. So, but I've never kept
Seems like you'd
personally
be like having a big pissed off pit where it's like every time you got to deal with them, it's just like, oh my god, here we go. Let's just get this over with.
You talking about Pituophis or Pitbull dog? Oh, Smitty froze again. Dun dun dun. Well, we can hear you breathing, Bubba. There you are. You're back.
Here I am. Switch to my phone.
Good enough.
Calling my internet people tomorrow because this is crap.
Do it. Do it. Do it. Accordion Cola. Do it. Do it. Well, is there anything else you want to touch base on tonight?
I don't think so.
All right. It's a good show.
What about you?
No, man, I'm good. Just
You're good.
enjoying my Fulvius apparel.
There you go.
Super excited for Daytona. Less than
I
a
am
month.
too. Boy. So they announced, I think it's today or yesterday, that if you can get VIP tickets for $100, which gets you access to the show during setup.
Oh, geez.
Saturday, and you get in early Saturday, and I think early in on Sunday.
Okay.
Which someone actually brought up a good point of if you're letting people into the show early on Friday, being concerned of like for security reasons, I guess someone like people stealing stuff while people are
1000%.
setting up, like
It's going to happen.
seems like a very real possibility, and
Yeah.
I can understand like it'd be nice to get in early like that, and I'm sure vendors, some of them will appreciate the fact that the people that do that are probably actually looking to buy, but at the same time it's like now I have to have someone watching everything while I'm trying to set up and get everything ready to go, and if I don't have anybody with me, that is then me.
And to me, it's not so much watching everything to make sure somebody doesn't glom a snake off a table. It's more so of I have to stop setting up to cater to a customer, and now everything is delayed, or my staff is delayed or what have you, because I have to cater to the customer, which isn't a bad thing. We're there to take care of people and sell stuff, but it makes things a lot more difficult. And I know back in the day, probably maybe at least 10 years ago, you could buy a vendor's badge for the price of a table. Whatever the price of the table was, you could buy that badge and it would grant you vendor access. You didn't get a table because you didn't have a table to use. But the reason why they did that is because you'd have these bigwigs from Japan and China and Southeast Asia that would come over with a fanny pack full of cash, and they would literally buy an entire table of Pac-Man frogs, an entire table of corn snakes, an entire table of ball pythons. And that would just be done Friday. They would just do that Friday.
Yeah.
And like it made everyone a ton of money, but most people were extremely apprehensive to pay $200 or $300 for early entry, except for the dude from Japan making
Who's got nothing but money.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see what happens this year. I know last year was a bit of a cluster. I would hope that things have been ironed out, but at the same time, I also won't complain if I get to watch Wayne argue with people in the comment section of Facebook more, because that's pretty entertaining. Especially considering when he's like telling people to come say these things to his face, and like nothing against Wayne, but he's an older gentleman. Thank you, buddy. You're playing with fire there, guy.
Yeah. But it's gonna be a great show. It's gonna be a great show.
It will be.
Tons of great people.
Forward to it.
Yeah. Stoked.
I think by the time that weekend gets here, I'm already in need of a break, because work's just been unbelievably crazy the last 2 or 3 weeks. That by the time that weekend rolls around, I'm going to be ready to get the hell out of Dodge for a bit and hang out with my people.
Yeah, man. It's gonna be great. Have a stocked cooler and ready to rock and roll.
That's right. This episode was brought to you by BlackBoxCages.com. Check them out. Facebook, Instagram. Use the code THN at checkout. Grab yourself a rack. Grab yourself a cage. At the very least, go give them a follow on both social media platforms. Stay in the loop about some new stuff coming down the pike. Stay in the loop If you can type it, you should be able to say it in person, Kasicki said. And meet me in the parking lot, Kasicki, so I can show you where all the good corns are and you can go buy them.
I'm gonna make Kasicki uncomfortable as hell when I just give him the biggest bear hug because I legitimately miss that dude.
Do you have a list of things this year? Well, I figure we'll do like a pre-Daytona show as we get closer to Daytona, but it's like, what do you got a mental list going already?
Yeah, well, absolutely. So Mike has a male Everglades rat for me already. So that's my pre-show pickup, if you want to call it that. And then I've got Subox on the brain, man. Got him hard. Got Subox hard on the brain. So I'm gonna look for them. And honestly, I mean, I may look at a couple of the colubrids, but I don't want to go crazy, man. I got a ton of stuff right now, and I got stuff I'm still raising up. So we'll just play it by ear.
Yeah. The only thing I have sort of planned is a couple of corn things. Even then, I'm going to be kind of picky about what I get if it's available. You know, I don't need any more Bairds at the moment. There's really nothing else. You know, someone mentioned, well, what about some more Gonyosoma? It's like I don't have the space for another adult Gonyosoma. You know, even if I got Oxys or something, there's just you know, it's like I want to do that, but I also don't want to drop a bunch of money on an animal that's going to be a real struggle for the next year.
Yeah.
So I say this every year though too, where I'm like, yeah, there's not a whole lot. I'm not going crazy, whatever. And then I somehow end up coming home with 8 snakes, and
that's how it goes, man.
It just happened. I don't know.
That's how it goes.
But BlackBox cages. Puget Sound
out.
Pythons, Facebook and Instagram. Find them on Morph Market. Go check out what they have up for grabs. Fulvius Apparel, fulviusapparel.com. Get a shirt, get a hat, get both, get it all. It's all good. And cold-blooded caffeine. We will. I don't know if we're gonna be back Thursday or not, because Matt mentioned Jake being on Herp Talk. Jake mentioned Rob Christian coming on THP.
Whoa.
But now, we have to sort this out, because
no, there's no sorting out. Rob Christian comes on our show Monday night, and we call it a day.
Well, we have to sort that out with Rob.
I'll call him when we hang up.
He's a hard man to pin down. He's slippery like an eel.
I love it.
Slippery like eel. And then Corn Stars, me and Chris are working on another episode for that here, possibly the week after next week.
Awesome.
We'll see. TBD.
TBD.
But thank you all. See everybody later.
Bye.